All right. Good morning, Pat. How you doing, man?
Hey, it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on, man. I'm looking forward to a great conversation, man,
Guys
and
got
and
about 2 minutes.
and maybe we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, no question, man. I'm really excited about having you on, and especially to reveal who Brad Schimmel is to the audience. I already know who he is.
Yeah,
He's a snake.
agree. Firmly agree. And what a weird position we're in, right? Where the amount of money that's been spent in this race is more than you would see, in two Senate races in the past. But it's just how important this is. But we got to talk about the guy and who he is and all that.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
incredibly important.
there was a record-breaking amount spent in the last one, over $659 million, and this one is probably going to get upward 70 million.
Yeah.
And I mean, come on, man, it's a Supreme Court race on the state level, which is, it just goes to show how out of whack and out of kilter this thing is.
That's exactly the way to put it, right? Like in a normal functioning world, this race, it'd be important. These things are always important, but the extent to which, especially power everywhere right now, is getting pulled into Washington D.C., pulled into folks like Donald Trump who want to take over multiple branches of government. These races are going to be where people's rights in the state are protected, are fought for. You got to have the right person in there, because if you can just buy these things, like what do we have left for actual people?
Yeah. All right, we're ready, man. We're ready.
Great.
Hey, what's happening?
Brother, what's up?
This is a groovy party, man.
Yeah,
I
brother,
can
like,
dig it.
solid. Right on.
Mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving.
Good morning and welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. That's 855-752-4842. You can text us at that same number. Good morning to you, Cardi. How you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm pretty good, man. Thanks for asking, Earl. How are you today, man?
Hey, listen, man. Every time you get to breathe in oxygen, you're doing pretty good, man.
You know what I just realized? It's kind of so. We breathe in oxygen, right?
Yeah.
What if we're really breathing in consciousness? Just think about it. Just think about it. What if we're really breathing in consciousness instead of oxygen?
Well, so here's what I would say.
Talk to me.
We're going to have consciousness if we open our ears in the next few minutes. You're going to hear some consciousness from my guests, and it's always great to have people on. I think it's so important, man. Talk shows shouldn't be about the host. It should be about the guests.
Right. I agree.
And it should be about the people who can bring knowledge and information to you. And with that backdrop, I want to welcome Mr. Pat Dennis. He is the president of America 21st Century. Good morning to you, sir. Tell us a little bit about America 21st Century.
Hey, Earl, it's great to be here. Yeah, my name's Pat Dennis. I run, it's called American Bridge. We're we're one of these political organizations. We've been working, we work elections all over the country, but we've been in Wisconsin, folks on the ground, hiring folks from Wisconsin for over a decade at this point. I think 11 years ago, we were fighting on the Act 10 stuff, fighting Scott Walker, going, this has just been such an incredibly important state. Also a state because of how much controversy you guys have had, how many fights you've guys had, important fights for this isn't just like theoretical stuff. We've been talking about rights for everyday people, the ability to have a good job, to bargain. There's a lot of good political talent in your state. So we're over indexed on folks. We got a bunch of folks who are from Wisconsin, who live in Wisconsin, who are just really, really politically talented and are good at these fights. But here we are. We're back again. We got another big fight.
Let me ask you, man. Tell us a little bit about you. You said you were here fighting when Scott Walker, man. How old were you? 12?
No, I was a little older than that. So I was actually before the Scott Walker stuff. I was down in Ohio. Doing stuff down there, and I was probably 26 back then. So coming in, and Act 10, that was where you really saw. And back then it wasn't Elon Musk, it was the Koch brothers, but they were coming in and they were trying to change the laws. They were trying to change the rights people have. They were trying to change the way everything worked. Could you get a good paycheck, all that. And you saw people rise up. I think back to those days and just the amount of, the people that were there, the energy that was there. And look, they were dark days. They were dark times. We're kind of back in those dark times. But anyway, I did a lot of work on that Scott Walker stuff. I sort of, worked my way up through different elections. And now I'm here and running an organization.
Well, I guess people would ask the question, you're in D.C.
Yeah.
This is a state superintendent's race. We just had one a year ago.
Yeah.
Why is this one so important? I mean, we're talking, we might see $70 million or more invested in a state Supreme Court seat. Last year, it was 59 million.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
It's weird, right? Like I worked Senate races where we spent 30, and that seemed like a lot at the time. And now this is just a fact of where we are right now in our politics. And Donald Trump has brought in a kind of politics where it just seems like you can buy the election, right? You can come in, you can spend money, you can just put up a lot of ads, and you can come away with a lot of power. And the founders, a lot of problems with how the founders came in and structured stuff, but we've always kind of worked it out. But nobody anticipated a world where you have a co-president. The co-president is a billionaire, and he knows he doesn't control these state level races, so he's got to come in, he's got to try to take control, put his own people in charge, and just sort of take out the checks and balances that give people a check on the sort of executive authority of the federal government. So that's why we're here, right? It's about people's rights. It's about, can people fight for the actual laws they want, the laws they vote for, or are they going to come in with these folks who are just going to legislate from the bench? Are they going to say, oh no, this law that you passed that helps people, can't have it because I'm a conservative, and if they didn't write it in the Constitution 200 years ago, or some 1849 law says we can't do it, they'll come up with whatever justification they need to kill laws that actually help people.
So let me ask you, because here you are in Washington, D.C., and your organization is fighting here for the people in the state of Wisconsin. What are your thoughts when 50% of the American people don't vote because they don't feel that there's any reason to vote? I mean, and at the same time, somebody's investing $70 million. They know the difference.
They know it matters.
Yeah, how can we? Man, we're polar opposites.
Yeah. People died for the right to vote.
That worked, man. That worked for my generation.
I know.
When you said that, I don't think it works today.
No, it doesn't. And honestly, you're not supposed to say this when you're in Washington, D.C. I think a lot of it comes down to the political class. So the way politics have been done, people don't feel like, Democrats, Republicans are looking out for them. Unfortunately, that means in a world where actual real life people with real life concerns don't vote, that helps Republicans, right? That is the world where you can come in and you can start taking away rights. You can, take away the right to abortion. You can start giving contracts to your own people, because nobody's paying attention. Oh, it doesn't matter. So part of this is on us, right? We got to show that we can deliver for folks. We got to win some fights. We can't just always be fighting. Oh, we're so scared. Please don't hurt us, Mr. Trump. We got to show that we can fight. So part of that's on us, but people also, and you hate to see it, people are going to get hurt from what's happening right now. The stuff in the Supreme Court race really matters, but also just the general march of power being centralized in Washington. They're going to suddenly shut down trade. And look, there are dairy farmers in Wisconsin who think shutting down trade is great because they think they'll make a lot of money. But the fact of the matter is, if you can't, if you can sell your milk for more money because we can't trade with anybody, that's great. But if nobody has any money left because they all lost their job because everything costs 25% more, real people are going to be hurting. People aren't going to be able to, feed their families. So this is the direction we're heading. Meanwhile, Elon Musk will buy another couple islands.
If you guys are just joining me, my guest is Mr. Pat Dennis. He's with American Bridges. 21st Century. I have to say to you, you said you're not supposed to say what you said. You're in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
But I referred to it as politricks.
Yeah.
And I referred to them as politricksters.
Yeah.
Because when you tell people one thing and you do another, it is the reason why people don't vote, is because nothing changes for them.
Yep.
Be they Democrat or Republican, their lives don't get any better. And they struggle in the wealthiest nation on earth, and this dirty game keeps moving down the road.
Yep.
And so lobbyists become more important than the voters on both sides of the equation. So how do you fix that? How do you get people to feel that they've been taught all these things about our country, about our government, about politics? And then nothing changes for them.
Yeah.
It only gets worse.
It only gets worse. And that is the key there, right? So things have, for everyday people, things have not been going great for the past 10 years, the past 20 years. That doesn't mean things can't get a lot worse. And this is what scares me so much and why
we're looking at it now.
And we're looking at it now. You have folks who, if you just want to actually describe what Republicans are trying to do right now in, leaving Wisconsin into national politics, they have two legislative goals. Number one, cut taxes for rich people. And they're not hiding that. That is what they're saying. Cut taxes for rich people. And number two, they got to pay for that somehow. So they're taking $800 billion out of healthcare. And that's not just like, some little program. That is the actual healthcare that everyday people are on. You have places, in the Midwest where more than half of the children can see a doctor because of these programs that they're cutting. That is really going to hurt people. So look, I hate to say it, things can get worse. We got to fight against it, but it's just one of these things where they're just going to take an inch, and then all of a sudden your kid can't see a doctor anymore. It's unacceptable. We need politicians who can fight for this stuff, but we also need politicians who can explain it, who can talk about it. But at the same time, we need judges, right? We need fair judges who can rule on the law and not just say, yes, sir, Mr. Billionaire, we're going to do what you want.
See, you just stole my thunder.
No, sorry.
No, really. The truth of the matter is people ask the question, why? Why the Supreme Court? Why are we so concerned about this when we watch the whole world falling apart? And yet you're telling me that this is the most important thing for me to be concerned about. Yep. Why is the Supreme Court race in the state of Wisconsin so critically important for us to be focused on? And the fact that you guys are here and working and doing the kind of things. We're going to be joined later on by former Attorney General Eric Holder. He's going to be calling because clearly this is a serious race because the big guns are coming out. I mean, even Pat Dennis is out. But anyway, 855-752-4842. My guest is Mr. Pat Dennis. He's with American Bridge 21st Century. 855-752-4842. 4842 on the Earl Ingram Show.
There's too many of you crying. Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Yeah. Father, Father, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Oh, picket lines and picket signs. Don't punish me with brutality.
All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. That's 855-752-4842. My guest is the president of American Bridge 21st Century, Mr. Pat Dennis. So, Pat, you know, one of the reasons that you wanted to, that we have you on today is there's a guy who is running for the state Supreme Court that people need to know a little bit about. I think you know a little bit about him. Let's have at it, man. Let's talk a little bit about who Brad Schimmel is.
Yeah, let's talk about it. First, I got to get in my little plug. Early voting starts today, and if you want to make your life easy, vote early. That's what I always say. But look, this is so important. You know, the person who's coming into this role is going to make life and death decisions, and they're either going to be making them to help people or they're going to be making them for other reasons, right? And Brad Schimmel, like, you've seen the kind of decisions he made. Dude was attorney general. When there's a rape in Wisconsin, right, they take a rape kit. Everybody knows this. It has potential DNA evidence, whatever. He came in. There are thousands of these things that haven't been tested, from victims. Just the evidence is there. They don't even test it to go see if they can catch the guy. So Brad Schimel comes in. They had 6,000 untested rape kits. They tested 9 of them. And look, he's out there, he's running lawsuits. He's trying to go after Planned Parenthood. He's spending $1 million on attacking Planned Parenthood, going to Washington, D.C. to talk in front of the Supreme Court. And that's just like a basic kind of decision he's making, where there are like actual people out there, victims of crimes, who he could be helping, but instead he's up there trying to get on Fox News, trying to become kind of a conservative talker, just so he could build his profile to run to get into positions of power like this, to get these billionaires to come in and want to spend money for him. But there were thousands of people whose evidence was never tested. And what did he do? Did he go and test it to try to get it fixed? No, he just kept lying about it. So look, the guy cut down plea deals for child molesters. There was a child sexual assault victim who he attacked as having like bad judgment. Right? It's just the kind of guy where where his priorities are, and they're just with himself, with his buddies, with Washington D.C. And I can say that because I'm from Washington D.C. and you can see those people, and it's just disgusting. It's just, what kind of person do you have there making these decisions? Right? It's the job of judge. What is your judgment like?
Man, he really is not exactly a very bright man, because I'm just saying, I've seen him, I've listened to him for a long, long time, long before Scott Walker gave him the job that he had, long before, he was a state attorney general. He's not a very bright guy. And so I saw him last week I heard him last week before he appeared in the debate. He was on the conservative talk show the morning of the debate.
Yep.
And man, all he did was suck up. I'm Trump, and the Republicans, and I'm a Republican, and you vote for me, I'm gonna, But then that evening when he went before the television cameras, well, this is not partisan. It shouldn't be. I'm like, hey man, you know what I mean? They got you on tape, man, sucking up to conservatives and Republicans, and then you turn around on television and you can't change who you are, man. Some of us are aware of that, and that's not what we're looking for in a Supreme Court justice, is it?
No, and it's like they think people are stupid, right? They go to their own folks, they say one thing, we're going to come in, we're going to buy this election, we're going to fight for, conservative rights of all these folks, and then they turn around and talk to voters and they say another thing. It's the politician thing, and you talk about him not being very smart. This is the kind of system they've created there in the Republican Party, where it has nothing to do with can you do a good job. We know the guy can't do a good job. It's everything to do with loyalty. Can you show loyalty? Can you kiss the right butts? Can you kiss the right rings? and if you can do that, it doesn't matter, right? You'll just keep getting new jobs. It has nothing to do with how good you are.
The fear that I have, though, Pat, is when they kind of did some, seeing where they run and find out about who's voting which way. I forgot what you call those things. They kind of showed,
the poll.
Yeah, polls.
Yeah,
that it was either dead heat or he was leading a little bit. And my fear is the people who in this state who voted for Donald Trump, they haven't learned their lesson. Because the apple don't fall too far from the tree, right?
Yeah.
And so if you haven't learned anything through Donald Trump and what Donald Trump is doing, I'm fearful that you're going to vote for this yahoo. Why? Not because of his beliefs or any of those things, but you're going to vote for him because, and you can't even say he's a conservative because these people aren't even conservatives, man. He's a MAGA.
Yeah, that's right. Conservatives, I disagree with a lot of them, but they had principles, right? The MAGA people, it's just about power. But the last poll I saw, it was 47-47, tight race with 6% undecided. And a lot of the question is, who are these 6%? And by and large, it's not, it's not folks like you. It's folks who they just don't have a ton of time to pay attention to politics. They probably got 3 kids. They're trying to get them to school. They got 2 jobs. They're trying to get by. And these are the people who are going to get hurt the most, right? They're coming after these folks' health care. You saw, these folks' parents are on Social Security. They need that Social Security check to get by. And they put out a memo in the Social Security Administration that just leaked yesterday where they're looking to cut the phone lines to Social Security. So you got to apply online, no matter you're 80 years old, never used a computer before. And that's the way they're looking to save money, right? It's all about saving money for these tax cuts.
Hey Pat, can you hang on a second?
Yeah.
All right. You're going to hang on a second, right?
Yep.
All right. My guest is Pat Dennis, American Bridge, 21st Century, 855-752. Hey, man, I'm really impressed with you and your organization, and we got to do this again.
Thank you.
855-752-4842. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show. us at 855-752-4842. That's 855-752-4842. Text us at that same number. My guest is Mr. Pat Dennis. He is the president of American Bridges 21st Century. You know, American Bridges 21st Century. Let me ask you, Pat. You talked about Brad Schimmel and who he is, and you look at these horrible commercials, man, and the amount of money that they spend. Why is it so important for the Republicans? Well, I shouldn't ask a dumb question, because they just control our state Supreme Court for the last decade or more.
Yeah.
And we just seen in just the 1 year that there's been some backtracking and some balance brought back to the state when the Democrats were able to just in 1 year, gain a little ground.
Yeah.
So is it that not just here, but across the nation, Republicans know the importance of controlling states?
Yeah.
And we saw this, I think prior to, when Donald Trump wound up winning, they had controlled 32 state seats. Did the Democrats not know that?
Well, that's been a problem for a long time, right? Republicans, they are all about power. They know where the power is, and they zero in on that. And too much in the past, people wouldn't fight back. They let them do it. They'd say, "Oh,
Right.
I like national politics. I'm not a state politics guy," and that is just unacceptable, because they come into these places, and what are the things they do? They go after paychecks, right? That was the thing when they came in and took over Wisconsin. They went after working day people's paychecks, because they said, this is too expensive. We got all these business owners who are paying too much in taxes. Meanwhile, we got somebody out there working a public sector job collecting garbage, and they get too much health care. That's where the priorities are, and they know they can come in, and people, maybe they won't pay attention. They say, what is the state Supreme Court? What is the state Senate office? And they come in and they get these levers of power. That's why there's so much money coming into this race, is because people are starting to stand up and say, no way. Like, we've seen, a decade of people getting hurt for this, and you just can't stand for it anymore.
Man, it really was heartbreaking over, the last 10 years or so. Hang on, man. We got the Attorney General, Eric Holder, on the line. Hey, good morning to you, Attorney General Eric Holder. How you doing, sir?
Well, I'm doing just fine, Earl. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's good to hear your voice again. It's been many years, but, you're still in the battle, and that's good to know that you're still fighting the fight.
Yeah, Wisconsin is a place that means a lot to me. It's a place where we've had a lot of success in breaking up the gerrymanders that for too long really kind of skewed the government in this state towards a special interest and away from the people. And now I'm here to talk about an extremely important Supreme Court race involving a candidate I think who's unbelievably qualified, Susan Crawford, against a guy who is Elon Musk's puppet, this guy Brad Schimmel. And so I think the choice is clear, but everybody's got to get out there and vote for Susan Crawford and say no to Elon Musk.
I think the Isley brothers said it best, Attorney General Holder. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Exactly
right. I mean, the reality is that we control our own fate. And if you look at Susan Crawford, she was a tough prosecutor. She's been a tough but fair judge, as opposed to this guy Schimmel, who left thousands of rape kits untested, wasted millions of dollars to impose restrictions on abortion. He supports this 1849 abortion law that has no exceptions. He sued to overturn Obamacare. He is a person who has defended the state's really egregious gerrymanders that I've had a hand in trying to overturn. And then these are his words now. He says he wants to turn the Wisconsin Supreme Court into a support network for Donald Trump. And Elon Musk, I guess just last week, gave him $10 million. So that tells you who this guy is. And compared to Susan Crawford, an unbelievably qualified and fair judge, this choice is clear. People need to start voting. Early voting starts today. The election's April the 1st. The choice could not be more clear.
You know, I mean, there are elections going on all over the country, but this one is getting the most attention. And you know, as a Wisconsinite, I'm still trying to figure out why this one is getting more attention than any other.
Well, I tell you, because I think the Musk and Trump see that Wisconsin is an important state. It's a swing state, and they want to put somebody on the Supreme Court who will tilt things towards them in a whole variety of ways, not the least of which comes to with regard to your electoral system. As I said, we've been successful in breaking up the gerrymander. They want to put it back in place, and that has an impact not only on the state, but on the federal election as well. And that's why this matters to them so much. They're trying to go everywhere. I mean, they're doing all kinds of things with the federal government, but they're getting involved in state government elections as well. Wisconsin is the first big election in 2025. That's why Donald Trump Jr. was here, campaigning for this guy Schimmel. And again, if you kind of narrow your eyes and look at this guy Schimmel, you know who you're going to see? You're going to see
Donald
Elon
Trump.
Musk and Donald Trump. That's who you're going to see.
You know, Attorney General Holder, what do you say to people who are listening right now who say, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I haven't recovered from the presidential election, and things aren't going according to plan, and now you want me to get out and vote? I don't feel up to it. I'm still brokenhearted. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, I understand that feeling. I understand that feeling of disappointment, but I tell people, listen to Fannie Lou Hamer, that famous civil rights activist from Mississippi, who said, I'm in no ways tired. Here's the reality. Democracy is a participatory game. There are no off years when it comes to the defense of democracy. And so I know you're tired. I know you might be disappointed, but the way to get yourself undisappointed, if there is such a word, the way in which you get yourself activated again is to participate. And all that I'm asking you to do is to register, make sure you're registered, get out there, do early voting, vote on or before April the 1st, and you're going to feel better about yourself. This is a fight. This is a fight. And if we don't fight, if we don't participate, the other side is going to win. So we don't have the luxury of feeling tired. We don't have the luxury of feeling exhausted. We don't have the luxury of feeling down. I understand it. I mean, I understand the feelings that people have, and they're legitimate things. But I would ask people to get beyond those feelings and to get back out there and to vote. It's the very thing that people before us sacrificed, committed themselves, gave their lives so that we would have the ability to vote. And that's how we honor the ancestors, by voting.
You're here, you're up this morning, you're talking about a person who Ms. Crawford, Judge Crawford, who I had on, who I interviewed, who I saw debate Brad Schimmel and clean his clock, and a very strong woman, very forceful woman, and upright. And isn't that what we're looking for?
That's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody who will be impartial, who decide cases on the basis of the facts and the law, not like somebody like Schimmel, who is going to decide cases on the basis of the special interest, who's going to bring his ideology to deciding how cases are decided. And here's the deal. Elon Musk brought a lawsuit against the state of Wisconsin like 5-10 days before he deposited $10 million into Schimmel's account. Now, you think that money is going to Schimmel's campaign without any expectation that there's going to be a return on that investment? No, that's who Schimmel is. Susan Crawford, by contrast, is not beholden to anybody. I'm not sure how she's going to vote on any particular case, but I know she's fair. I know she's going to follow the law. And I know that as a result of that, we'll get good decisions out of her. I have no confidence in Schimmel, no confidence whatsoever.
Well, last request. What do you say to the listeners who on the fence and who say, well, Democrats haven't done the things for us that we wanted. I'm disappointed. And so, what one shouldn't have anything to do with the other, but I hear my callers and some who say Democrats, I'm done with Democrats. How do you fix that by saying I'm voting for Brad Schimmel?
Well, I tell you, if you look at what Democrats have done both nationally and here in the state of Wisconsin, progress has been made. Maybe not as much progress as we have wanted, but if you look at Schimmel and you look at the Republicans, they're against equal opportunity. They are for racial and partisan gerrymandering. They don't want to make the state better for everybody. They want to make the state work for the special interests. And yeah, if the Democratic Party has not been all that you have wanted it to be, well, then elect people who will work for the people. And the Democratic Party, I think, has done just a much better job than the Republican Party. It doesn't mean Democrats have been 100% effective, but in this case, the choice, this is not a close choice. I mean, this really is not. I've been coming here and, working for candidates, Supreme Court candidates, state legislative candidates, governors, gubernatorial candidates, but this one's not close. Susan Crawford is so much better than Brad Schimmel that if you want to have the shot at having a better government, making sure the Democrats are doing the things that you want them to do, you can't put a guy like Schimmel in place who will make sure that the special interests are the ones that are protected and not the people. So vote for Susan Crawford, do it today, and do it no later than April the 1st.
Well, we thank you very much from the depths of our heart, taking the time out today and reminding people just how critically important this race is and the difference between the two. All right.
Okay, it's great to talk to you, man. Take care.
All right. Always good talking to you. Thank you very much. That's former Attorney General Eric Holder. My guest, Pat Dennis, who is the president of American Bridge 21st Century, he kind of echoed some of the sentiments you were saying.
Yeah, I'm honored. Attorney General Holder is a hero of mine. I want to shout out some of the work he's been doing on, Republicans love to pick their voters, and they love to take voters who would vote against them, stick them in a district where their vote can never really count because they're outnumbered by other folks, create these crazy shaped districts where you end up in a situation where, it's just the Republicans going to win no matter what. And that kind of creates this situation where, people feel like their vote doesn't matter. Eric Holder has been right out there every single day fighting to stop that from happening, to make sure we have fair districts, fair maps. And I just want to say it's important, and it's also an important part of this race, right? It's making sure that Republicans can't pick their own voters.
Man, he never left the scene.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he kind of ramped it up, and he's certainly dirtied his hands, if you will. He's a guy who could be above the fray,
mm-hmm.
but he's
in the fight.
Come down. Yes, he's in the fight, and so that's a good thing, man, because a lot of people, once they on that level, have moved away. But you say this, man. What do you say as people listening right now? And again, I'll ask you the same thing.
Yeah.
Disappointed in the Democrats.
Yeah.
And you watch the Democrats as they are kind of battling it out. I will say this, man, long overdue. We've got a big tent, policies that they've had. It's time, man. It's time that it gets dirty and inside of the house, and then somebody comes out victorious, and it's no longer, well, we got a big tent,
Yeah.
Right. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, look, I get it. If you're frustrated with the Democratic Party, how do you deal with that? You go in there and you support your people for office. You run for office yourself. You get out there and vote, make sure, you answer the polls. People know you vote, and the Democratic Party can change. It needs to change. We're fighting with each other right now, but it's a useful fight because it's going to come down. So are we going to help people? What are we going to do to help people? How are we going to do it? How are we going to put up a real fight? And look, you got to be out there. You can't just get out of the ring. Otherwise, the wrong folks will be in charge.
We got one more segment. Hang on. 855-752-4842. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show.
You always have a friend. You're someone who I can depend. To walk a path that sometimes bends. With
without you. Life has no meaning or rhyme, like notes to a song out of time. How can I repay you for having faith in me? God bless you. You made me feel brand new. I sing this song for you.
All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Text us at that same number. My guest is Mr. Pat Dennis. He is president of Americans Bridge 21st Century. Last couple minutes, sir. So what do you want to say to people who are listening, you guys are out, you're knocking on doors. Why is that so important? Why is the interaction between what you do and the voters so important? And why is that more important than commercials where all the money's being spent?
I mean,
you can't compete with all the money, right?
Yeah, they got a lot of money. And that's not to say commercials don't matter. They do matter. People got to hear it, and people got to hear the message wherever they are, right? The thing is, the real folks who are going to decide this election, there are people, including most of the people listening to your show, who are well informed. They know what's going on. They hear from people. They hear from Eric Holder. But the 6% who are undecided, that might be your cousin. That might be your uncle. That's somebody who, is working hard, doesn't have time to pay attention to this, maybe just don't like to pay attention to it. And those are the folks where it's the difference between, our kids going to be able to get health care? Are we going to have fair maps so our vote matters? Are we going to just be able to, maintain the constitutional right to abortion in this state? That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of people who are going to be most impacted by how this election goes. And it's not, I'm not mad at them. These people are working hard. They're like living, in a lot of cases, a life with a lot of stress, but we got to be out there communicating. And, that means knocking on their door. It means talking to them, it means getting on the radio, wherever we can. Just say how important this is, how important the stakes are. Early voting starts today. Bring 2 or 3 people. It's a way you can have a lot of power.
Well, Tony says commercials aren't conversations. Conversations persuade.
That's true.
That's
definitely true. And, like you were talking about, people are kind of mad, right? And people are disappointed with the Democratic Party. I don't think anybody expects that Democrats are going to, fully become everything anybody ever dreamed of overnight, but they want to see people out there talking to them. Know just where your values are, where your fight is. I was in Milwaukee. I flew out during the RNC, right? The Republicans were in town. And I came in because I wanted to mix it up with them a little bit. And something you do when I fly into a town and they're hosting you as a guest, right? You go to the local restaurant, you leave a big tip, you take care of people who are taking care of you. Around that convention center, those restaurants were empty. People left the convention center, got in their Ubers, went right back to the hotel in the suburbs. Me and my crew were the only folks out there talking to waitresses. I think this is the kind of thing. Are you looking out for people? Are you looking out for everyday working people? Are you looking out for these billionaires? And for the Republican side, it's the billionaires. There's no question.
Man, as this thing, inches closer to the end as it relates to, the Supreme Court race, there's going to be another one and another one because the way they're staggered. This is going to be repeating itself. So do you foresee that each time even more money gets poured into this? It's going to be over $70 million.
I'm kind of hoping that these billionaires will spend a lot of money, not get their return, start to think that, hey, maybe we can't just buy people's votes, and then maybe they'll stop and we can go back to races that are defined by people, who live in Wisconsin, who are from Wisconsin, who are focused on Wisconsin issues instead of these, the row of billionaires that was lined up behind Trump at the inauguration. I think ultimately that'd be better for democracy, but if we got to fight, we got to fight, and we'll be in there fighting.
The people outnumber the billionaires, right?
That's true.
I mean, there's no question that the people outnumber the billionaires, and that if you can get the people to understand their collective power, which is really what it's about, and what you are doing, and what American Bridge 21st Century is about, is getting the people to understand they still possess the power to make the decisions and control what happens in this country, regardless of how much money you spend. Is it safe to say that?
Absolutely. And, you got to fight. You got to stand up there and fight. You got to talk to people. You got to make the argument. You got to show, you can't just tell people your values. You got to show people your values. But this is what it's all about.
Hey, Pat, thank you very much, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to get to know you. We got to do it again.
Absolutely.
Very much impressed with you and your organization.
Well, thank you. And thanks for everything you do. This program is incredibly important.
Hey, man, keep up the good work.
Bye.
All right. 855-752-4842. That's Mr. Pat Dennis. He's the president of American Bridges 21st Century. And they're doing the work here across the state of Wisconsin, especially here in Milwaukee and other places, to make sure that people get out and vote. Again, he's in Washington, D.C., and he knows just how important that is. I'm looking at Brandon. Trump just emptied the Kennedy Center to take pictures so he could put cheering behind it. It's just unbelievable, the things that are going on right now. And so we're going to be joined by Mike from Kenosha, one of, the many listeners to our show. I've invited him in today to spend some time with us. And, that can happen to you as well. That's kind of the things that we do here on the Earl Ingram Show. 855-752-4842. Up next, Mike from Kenosha on the Earl Ingram Show.
Thanks, guys.
Piece, turn it
Did
the
you
other
want to
way,
do the promo now?
inside out. There you go. Right. And All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Text us at that same number. My next guest is Mr. Mike Olson. He's the founder of the Truth Chamber. So before we even get into that, Mike, how's your sound? Good?
I can hear you very well.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Sounds good.
But what Mike is Mike is a caller and a listener to civic media, and especially to the Earl Ingram Show, and he weighs in quite a bit. And so I thought it would be really interesting if we had Mike on for a segment. And, you know, and any of those of you who are in the listening audience, it's something I plan on doing, and that's at time to time bringing in different people who listen to the show and who weigh in to the show. So, you know, you may be next. But let's talk a little bit about Mike Olson. Mike, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm originally from Wisconsin. Grew up in La Crosse. Graduated from high school in La Crosse Central's 100th graduating class in our nation's bicentennial, our 200th year, 1976. So I think a lot of us in that era, maybe we're a little bit more exposed to democracy, to people power, to activism, because that's what we saw, quite frankly, at least when I was growing up. You know, in that era, in the 60s and 70s, we saw people on the streets. We saw people fighting for what they believed in and what they believed was the right future. So that's part of it. But also, I need to include one other thing, and that is our very first Medal of Honor winner of our nation, right after the Civil War, was my grandmother's great uncle. And because of him being awarded the Medal of Honor, he was actually the sixth person. It was his group, his regiment, in the non-officers were offered the medals first. He, being the only officer, was the last one in the group, but who received the Medal of Honor. But anyway, so that was instilled in us in a very young age that we have a duty, we have a civic duty, we have an obligation for our country. So between, you know, graduating from high school in 1976, our bicentennial year, and the history of our family in the Medal of Honor, we were just born to and raised to participate, to be involved, to do fundraising for the VFW, to do bake sales, you know, for causes. So that's where it all started. I moved away and started a couple different businesses in Arizona. We did well. I did a lot of outside sales activity to sustain the business. And in time, I literally had thousands of customers, and I would see them, or most of them, on a regular basis. These were all walks of life, all ages, all types of people. But what I learned is everybody's got something to say. Everything has something to contribute, and I needed to respect what they had to say. So I walked through life with wide open eyes. I tried to listen a whole lot more than I talked, and learn from all these business owners that I sold products to. So finally, unfortunately, we all saw 9/11. And that was the moment that everything changed from being a hobbyist and somebody who from time to time, you know, would get involved in certain activities. All of a sudden, things got real for us, real for America. We had the largest terrorist attack in our nation. And then when I learned years later that we were sold the war, the Iraq and Afghanistan war. This was a sales job done on the American people. That's when I started to say, enough is enough. We then had the bailouts, the financial crash, and the bailouts, which very few people that I talked to, certainly in my circles, were supportive of. But yet, all of a sudden, these trillions of dollars appeared out of nowhere, and we began bailing out these banks who did all kinds of things they shouldn't have done. So that's when then the truth chamber became mobilized. And now here we are now, all things what has happened is things have gone from bad to worse.
Well, let me tell you how bad things have really gotten. The give us back the Statue of Liberty, French politician tells the U.S. That's how bad it's gotten. They're asking for the Statue of Liberty back. Let me ask you, Mike. You created something called the Truth Chamber. So let's talk a little bit about what the Truth Chamber is. I thought it was interesting when you and I had a discussion about it. What is the Truth Chamber?
Well, the Truth Chamber is, and I've mobilized them a couple times for specific tasks, but it's really a group of individuals, people who want to get right from wrong, get the truth from fiction, who are tired and frustrated of being lied to and manipulated over and over and over and over, of being told of job creators and corporations are people and money speech nonsense. No, the Truth Chamber is a collection of people who just had said enough is enough. I want to figure this stuff out once and for all. I'm tired of being lied to. Things are happening so fast and are so important, and they're just blurring right on by. But the Truth Chamber, our mission is to just sort out the issues of the day. Very easy for the general public to read, follow up, and get their minds wrapped around, so they can be better equipped to call out a lie when they're being lied to. So as simple as I can explain it.
So let's do this. Let's go to David. Good morning to you, David. You have a question or comment?
Yeah, I was wondering if he wanted to test an idea. He was talking about the multitude of different directions that Trump is going insane on and how bad it is for the American reputation. Well, if you remember, after World War II, we had the International Monetary Fund, and the United States had hypothetically been the most honest country after World War II. And so the world's money was going to be based against the U.S. dollar. Well, now, if Trump does everything possible to ruin America's reputation, then the U.S. dollar will be in the tank. And so America's total reputation being based on the U.S. dollar is going to be based on Trump's insanity. So changing out the money is what they did in 1776. And are we just going to have to change out the money and make our own reputations again?
Dave, I've got...
Hey, Dave, thank you very much for the call.
I've got... we've done some research on this. It's always looking for more, by the way, and thank you for contributing more. But the money changers has always been a big deal throughout world history. And what we are seeing now, and again, thanks for bringing it up, is we're seeing this move into cryptocurrencies and all these other financial gimmicks. And we're seeing, and I believe we're going to see very quick a movement away from the U.S. dollar. And holy smokes, people, if that happens, and if it happens too quickly, things are going to change in a really, really quick way.
So let me ask you, Mike. Our phone line's open at 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. So the American people, for the most part, are not as involved in politics. Oh, excuse me, politics as most of us are. And you hear people say, as you stated, they can't discern the truth from fiction. And, there are reasons why they can't discern truth from fiction. It used to be, we would read things for ourselves. People aren't reading things for themselves anymore. They're relying on the internet, and they're watching cable news outlets, which basically control their thoughts.
Well, they're listening to the influencers. They're
Right.
not being taught anything. They're being told what to think, which is, I think there's a big difference between those two.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. And so when we have morphed, frankly, it started with corporations, people in money speech, flawed Supreme Court decisions. Those were bad decisions. It's just another case of the Supreme Court making a bad choice, a bad case. But it started then, and now, it's an industry, the dark money in the politics that are being funded by the dark money, without any accountability, without any pushback, no fairness doctrine to back them up. The American people are being run over like a freight train with misinformation.
All right, 855-752-4842. My guest is Mr. Mike Olson, the founder of the Truth Chamber. He's a guy who listens, constantly to civic media and also the Earl Ingram Show, and that's why he's here. You can wind up in that position as well. 855-752-4842. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show.
No one can kiss your lips the way I will, the way I will. Hey there, lonely girl, let me make your broken heart like new.
Yeah, I know about that. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
But yeah, I think talking about 70% of the jobs created since year 2000.
We'll do that right after I come back in.
I just want to celebrate another turn the other way and I carry on anyhow. That's why I'm telling you, I just want to celebrate. Yeah, yeah. Another day of living. Yeah, I just want to celebrate another day of life.
All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Text us at that same number. My guest is Mr. Mike Olson, and he is the founder of the Truth Chamber. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Truth Chamber a little bit later on, but he clearly is a guy who listens to civic media a lot, and who, especially this show, and he certainly always has something to say. And relevance, and that's why I invited him in to the studio this morning. There's breaking news. If you didn't know it last night, Israel strikes kill over 400 in Gaza. Not 400 Hamas, but 400 people, innocent children, women and children. And the ceasefire has now come to an end. And the worst part about it is, the president of the United States is not going to say anything about that. I think, Cardi, you got a little footage. Let's hear a little footage.
Yep. Here it goes. Give me 1 second to bring that up. Wait 1 second. 1 second. Here we go.
Almost the entire family was martyred, all of them in pieces, and our house collapsed on us. Our house is directly next to theirs. There are also injuries at the Satari house. They are still pulling people out from under the rubble. We were sleeping just before Suhoor, and the house almost fell on us.
All right, man. That's, that once again is the barbarism that goes on. It is more than frustrating to see what takes place and to see what is supported by our government. You don't get things worked out by dropping bombs on innocent people. I thought we've learned that lesson, historically. And if we haven't, God have mercy on our souls, that dropping bombs on innocent women and children is not the way to solve your problems.
That's what bullies do. Bullies, if they can't get their way, then they'll just strong arm their way to do it. And that's what happens when we choose not to push back. We choose not to hold these bullies accountable. We, the people, have fallen asleep. We have turned our backs on our obligation. And quite frankly, it's an insult to many of us, because there are so many of our troops, so many of our ancestors that paid the ultimate price to give us the freedom and liberty to live in this great nation called the United States of America. And here we have right in plain view, we have January 6th go on, and the Donald Trump called it a love fest. It was a perfect meeting. Then they come out and start blaming others for MAGA responsibility. It just, enough is enough. And if the American people are tired of this, then stand up and call these people out. Don't let the liars continue to lie and manipulate. We've all been duped.
All right, let's go to Tom from LA. Good morning to you, Tom. You say what?
Good morning, Earl. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning,
Great
Tom.
job, Mike.
Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely. First, I think we need to start saying we the people, because we pay the taxes. That's why we have skin in the game. Government, we need to make government great again,
Yes.
like it was under FDR.
Yes.
Like he brought us Social Security, unemployment in the WPA system. We have got to get money out of politics. We have got to stop the privatization of the commons. And for those people that don't know, the commons is the police, the fire, the roads, all the things that we share in common. And we have to define the difference between public and private. I don't want the government making my tennis shoes. I do want the government and all my taxes going towards things we all share together in common. And as the great FDR said, government by organized money is the same as government by organized mob. Mike, any of your thoughts? Or Earl, any of yours?
Thank you very much for the call.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it's music to my ears when I hear you talk, because it is truth to power. Somehow we have accepted two sides or three sides to the story when there is only one. There's only one truth, and don't let these right-wing pundits and quite frankly these anarchists tell you different. Both parties are not the same. There is truth that we need to recognize and abide by.
All right, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. My guest is Mr. Mike Olson, founder of the Truth Chamber. 855-752-4842. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show.
Celebrate another day of living. I just want to celebrate another day of life. Doing it all, get you down, no. Don't let it turn you around and around and around and around and around and around, around. Don't go round.
I was once out strolling one very hot summer's day, when I thought I'd lay myself down to rest in a big field of tall grass. I lay there in the sun and felt it caressing my face as I fell asleep and dreamed. I dreamed I was in a Hollywood movie.
All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. That's 855-752-4842. You can text us at that same number. Again, my guest is Mr. Mike Olson. He's the founder of the Truth Chamber. So let me ask you, Mike, the average American who right now can't discern truth from fiction really is lost, trying to figure out a way out, has put trust in people who really haven't earned their trust, politicians who really, for the most part, are more concerned about remaining in office than they are about what happens to the average American citizen. So how do you get those people to be more focused and more concerned about what's happening than they are right now?
That is the challenge. Because the influence market has grown exponentially. I mean, influencers, there is very little example of that back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, this is really an internet thing that was spawned out of the internet. But you almost have to challenge yourself, in my opinion, Earl. You know, if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't sound right, if it doesn't make sense, then I think it's beholding to us to look deeper into that subject matter. Whatever that topic is, whatever's important, is it education? Is it healthcare? Is it infrastructure? Is it democracy? Whatever that topic is for you, it's no longer smart, in my opinion, to rely on others telling you what to do. It's up to us to figure it out. It's up to us, does this sound right? Does it feel right? And then trust your instincts. Trust the instincts of your neighbors and your family in the conversation about the topics of the day. Quantum thinking and with people power. I mean, that's the reason why our jury system was picked and selected, to have 20 some jurors hear a case. It's because quantum thinking works. People get it right. When we pass along decision making to one or two people, a very, very small group, that's when the risks become front and center. That's when we make bad decisions. So for me, it's all about quantum, getting people involved in sifting through the nonsense and identifying these groups that call themselves fair and balanced, and we report and you decide, when all they are dark money-taking influencers. We have to be smarter than that, and it's up to we, the people, to rise to the challenge. Other nations are doing. We're seeing all across Europe. Protests are going on everywhere, and we see a few here too. But America needs to get on its big boy pants and big gal dresses back on, and lead from the streets.
So let me say this to you, man, because I do believe that ship has already sailed. I think that when we look at where this nation is headed and where it is right now, the people who are in power, who control, basically have a lock on all the power. And so financially, they have the resources that they can own and control the politricksters who are in office. And
it's a system that we allowed them to set up, by the way. This was done in the sunlight and open view. They're doing the Telecommunications Act in the middle of mid 90s, which changed the ownership of media. So it allowed them to be concentrated instead of diverse. We allowed this to happen. I hear you loud and clear about that the ship has already sailed, but I got to tell you, my experience is that we have a system, and you have to work within the system in order to change it. If you're going to try to change a system working outside the system, be careful, because there's all kinds of pitfalls.
Let me ask you. Let's talk about that system. A system that has allowed
self-service.
A man. Not alone, Donald Trump did not do this alone, but a group of people who have changed the system that we believed in. That system has been changed, okay? Because right now, they control it all. And so, again, to wake up people, and clearly the only way you can fight it is to wake up throngs and throngs of people and get them to understand what is it going to take for them to realize that, this is not beneficial to them. Just because they say Donald Trump is my man, Elon Musk is my man, and you watch some kind of silly people who text these messages who really are sheep. They don't know any better, and they just quote the same thing that the big cats are quoting. And they don't even count. The big cats don't even know anything about them, and yet they're going all in on supporting what these big cats are doing. But money, whether we like it or not, money controls it all. We live in a society and in a world that puts more value on money than it does human beings.
We need to have that system in checks and balances. We need to utilize the U.S. Constitution in its simple brilliance.
It's broken.
It is broken. And we can talk about the Supreme Court and the capture of the Supreme Court. We can talk about how all that happened. But to keep it simple, you're absolutely right. The moneyed interest has taken over. The oligarchs have taken over. Jimmy Carter warned us about this in the late 90s. We saw many elected representatives on both sides of the aisle, Earl, refer to this. Hey, you know what? I'm out. I'm not going to run again. We have self-servants running the asylum, so to speak. We don't have public servants. Many people, many good conservatives left the political sphere. Many Democrats left. Why would we want our lawmakers to be hustling money in fundraising instead of doing our work? We allow this to happen. We can bring this thing back. I hear you loud and clear when you say that the farm, the doors are wide open, the barn doors are wide open, and the big money's out and about. But I promise you that if we got our act together and we got away from this divide and conquer nonsense that is attacking us, attacking our society, attacking the way we live every day, we're attacking our relationships with our family and our friends over politics. Come on, guys, we can do much better. We the people are much better than this.
All right, let's bring Brendan on board. Good morning to you, Brendan. You say what?
Good morning, Brendan.
Yeah, I mean, as we talk about, the freedoms being gone and free press disappearing right in front of our eyes, I hearken back to what happened several months back when Elon Musk was flying between the U.S. and Germany. And in Germany, he tried to bring a very extreme right-wing Nazi party back into power with his money.
Yes.
It didn't work. We need, and Tom Adler here is making a great point. The German people created the firewall after Hitler so that another extreme party could never take power. And if they weren't able to win power, they weren't able to have their people active within the government. But I'm afraid that really what's going to happen in this country is there's going to be some kind of civil war of some sort. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how it's going to be pulled off. But what people haven't started really feeling the pain yet, but it's coming, folks. And when you really start feeling it and the people around you are affected and kids are having to take their 80-year-old, 90-year-old parents into their homes because their Medicare's been taken and they can't stay in their facilities any longer, and people can't get help and they watch their friends die.
Well, Brandon,
this is going to push people.
What about just the defiance in the ignoring of the rule of law? Basic tenets of America is the rule of law. And we have a president and senior government officials that are absolutely flipping you and me, we the people, the bird, when we're asking them to follow subpoena and follow the Constitution. We cannot allow this. We must stand up.
Hey, Brendan, thank you very much for the call. So let me say this to you, Mike. The rule of law, all of those tenets that people have held dear and sacred have been flushed down the toilet.
True.
Okay. So let's not live in a fantasy world anymore, because Donald Trump just gave the bird to the rule of law, and he's constantly giving the bird to the rule of law. Okay. And so the rule of law can't matter to you and I, and we're forced to deal with the rule of law, and then yet the president of the United States and all of his minions don't have to deal with the rule of law. If the rule of law is not across the board, then why should we accept the rule of law?
You're exactly right, Earl. We should not accept it. And that's my point. It's in our face. We can see this. Look at the bailouts. Look at the COVID billions of dollars that were forgiven to the corporates. We can go on with specifics. But unless we, the people, get the real story, get the facts, instead of being spun around in circles like a hamster on the wheel, we just have to slow it down. We can do this. And when we ask people to call representatives, it works. I have talked personally with several of our representatives. I hear you loud and clear. But it's, as far as the frustrations, 1 or 2 or 20 people aren't going to move the needle. But I promise you, in one marketplace, if you get 1,000 people protesting, if you get people standing up for their rights and standing up for their nation and for their families and their neighbors, it's contagious. People are looking for that, in my opinion, Earl. People are looking for a shining light, because all the lights for our future are dimming. Our young people are freaking out because they're being saddled with huge debt when they don't even know, their career path.
All right, 855-752-4842. My guest is Mr. Mike Olson, the founder of the Truth Chamber, and you on the Earl Ingram Show.
Got a black magic woman. I've got a black magic woman. Got me so blind I can't see that she's a black magic woman. She's trying to make a devil out of me. Don't turn your back on me, baby. Don't turn your back on me, baby. Yes, don't turn your back on me, baby. Stop messing around with your tricks. Don't turn your back on me, baby. You just might pick up my magic sticks.
All right, whenever you're ready, Earl. About 3 seconds. All right, it's up there.
On the next Earl Ingram Show, Robert Miranda and the Get Out the Lead team will return, along with let's go back.
Go ahead.
On the next Earl Ingram Show, Robert Miranda and the Get the Lead Out team returns, along with Dr. Robert Craig from Citizen Action, to discuss the state Supreme Court race and more.
Awesome.
Never met a girl could make me feel the way that you do. You're alright. Whenever I'm asked what makes my dreams real, I tell them you do. You're out of sight. But tweedly deep, tweedly dumb. Look out, baby, 'cause here I come.
All right. Welcome back to the last few minutes of the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Text us that same number. I tell you, man. My guest is Mr. Mike Olson from the Truth Chamber. You know, I am really discouraged. You know, I've lived 7 decades, and I've seen a lot. And my fear and my worry is for young people who are not going to know this nation like you and I knew it.
So
They're
true.
They're changing the nation from what it was to what they want it to be. And that's, you constantly talk about we the people. Well, you got half of we the people that don't vote. You've got another half of the half that's left that supports the things that are happening to them. And it's a monumental climb.
Earl, that's what happens when criminals get in a room, sit down, and plan out a crime. The next door neighbor, knows his neighbor as being a guy who mows his yard, plays with the kids in the backyard, but he has no idea, what goes on in his head. But a criminal has a really good chance of sneaking up on people, and all of a sudden, he's picked your pocket. That's kind of what happened here. With the Lewis Powell memo, that was created in like 1970, was the architect, the blueprint for the New World Order, for the moneyed interest to become organized, but yet in stealth. Because they knew that once the people would see what the moneyed interests were up to, that the people would step on them like a bug on a sidewalk. But Lewis Powell, to his credit, said, you know what? No, No. Keep your head down, keep quiet, but organize. And so what happened is Richard Nixon assigned Supreme Court seat to Lewis Powell. And there is when we found the 1976 Buckley Supreme Court case and the 1978 Berlotti Supreme Court case that made corporations of people and money speech. That's the catalyst, is when they were able to fundraise and organize and create this right-wing machine to support the Lewis Powell directive. And by the way, who was Lewis Powell? He was a tobacco attorney out of Raleigh who came up with slogans like "More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarettes." That's who these people are. They find ways around the public to get things through.
So when you're watching the government being dismantled block by block, and the opposition party can't do anything to prevent it. When you see representatives of the party that's dismantling the government afraid to push back because they're concerned about their future and their seats, not the people, their future. And so they remain silent. You're fighting a battle, a monumental battle.
It is a battle, but it is one that can be won. We just have to realize what's going on. We must begin to trust one another and trust our own instincts instead of these again, influencers that are being paid money to lie to your face over and over and over. And they call it trickle down or job creators or pay to play, donor class. All these things are words that ought to get your attention because they're meant to mess with you, mess with your head, and confuse you, get you spinning around so you give up and you stop the fight. I promise you that once the light is on these issues and the people start looking at these challenges like a juror would in a case with an open mind, the truth will come out and the truth will set us free. It is what has to happen for our republic to survive, in my opinion, Earl. And us pollywonks get it. Us people that this is our wheelhouse. This is your wheelhouse, Earl. You've been doing this a long time. You can smell this stuff. You can sense this coming along. Long before the guy even says what he's going to say, you know what's coming. History is repeating itself. And so for us pollywonks, we know what good government is. We've experienced it, especially those of us older. And it is very attainable. But I got to tell you, you cannot have people that want to destroy government working in government. That's the problem. We elected and put in the wrong people. They're self-servants, not public servants.
Hey, Mike, thank you very much for coming in and sharing. Up next, Jane Madnair, Greg Bach, Madnair on air. You've been tuned into the Earl Ingram Show. Okay, we're going to go out this door right here.
Could make me feel the way that you do.